What's up, everybody? Good morning. Let's jumpstart this week as we dive into this week's topic, which is the power of momentum. So shout out to you guys for going big last week talking about momentum. Let's give KZ and all of Southern Life a huge shout out for hitting a new record week last week. I think they went pretty close to like 40K. I know Morgan had a phenomenal week, so big shout out to her too. But make sure you guys go into WhatsApp and check out the leaderboard that we're going to drop here shortly for you guys for who led the way last week. For all the new agents that are teaming up with us here this week, I know for a lot of you guys, you're waiting on some writing numbers, waiting on getting out there. Welcome to the team. We're excited to have you here at FFA working alongside of us. And guys, it's 7 weeks away from the end of 2025. How crazy is that to think about that we have gone through this year already? I feel like we just started this year, and here we are 7 weeks away from wrapping up 2025 and going into 2026. So couldn't be more excited. But guys, it's crunch time. It's crunch time for you to lock down your goal, and especially crunch time to set yourself up for success going into next year. I know so many of you guys are about to hit this Scotland trip. We are working our way through production numbers for last month, so we will have those out to you here probably towards mid to later part of this week. But so many of you guys are so close, just a few weeks away for you locking down that trip for you and a +1. But guys, let's talk about the power of momentum. So important in your business. This business is just like a train ride for you, right? And if you know anything about freight trains, right, you got to get those things rolling, get them going. But once you get it going, it's very difficult to stop. And your individual production and your agency production is just like that. Once you get those wheels turning, you can steamroll your way into next year and into having a record year next year. So let's kick it off with the verse of the day, which is Galatians 6, verse 9. It says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Right? How true is that verse? Now, this verse is talking about being disciplined, right, in your faith, fighting the good fight, right, and reaping a harvest of having eternal life at the end of this journey. But I believe there's so many different tips and clues that God gives us throughout his verses. And one of the tips that I take away from this is also not growing weary in our work, in our life, in our relationships, right? Because at the proper time, you're going to see that delayed gratification come back. And this verse could be tied to so many different aspects of your life. But I would encourage you guys, think about this in terms of your business right now, the momentum you're trying to build, the things you're trying to fight for, right? Growing in your faith, all of these things. If we do not grow weary in doing good, at the proper time, we'll reap a harvest. And then my favorite part about this is if we do not give up. Why would he put that at the end of this verse? If we do not give up, that tells me that there's going to be challenges. It tells me there's going to be some hardships. It tells me there's going to be some highs and lows, right? There's going to be things that make you want to give up. And if you don't, that's how you'll see the harvest at the end of the fight that you're fighting. So think about this verse as you go into this week. And guys, let's talk about the first point in gaining momentum in your agency. And that's don't slow down when it starts working. This is such a concept that we wouldn't think we do, but we do it all the time, right? You get out there, you hustle hard. Let's say you're a brand new agent. This is new. You're excited. You start knocking on doors. You start getting paid commissions. Then all of a sudden, you start slowing down a little bit, right? You start getting comfortable. Team leaders, coaches, recruiters, right? Let's say you start building an agency. You start training agents. You start recruiting. You're doing interviews. Then you get a couple of them going, and then all of a sudden you stop what's working. So Guys, my biggest tip for you in gaining momentum going into this week and going into the end of this year and starting off next year is don't slow down when things start working. Be consistent in the activity that you're putting in every single day. And that's how you're going to gain momentum. All right. Think about that train analogy. That train doesn't go 0 to 60 like that, right? It goes up to speed. But what would happen if that train went up to speed and then slowed down and then went up again and then went down again, back and forth, right? It would never get to its destination. And for a lot of us in our business, if we're honest with ourselves, this is what we do, right? We go out, we hustle, we sell a lot of policies, we get paid, and then we're like, okay, I'm good for like a week. I could take a few days off. You slow down when things start working and it kills your momentum. So, guys, if you're trying to build momentum, if you're trying to hit a new record week, a new record month here in November, a new income month for the end of this year, you can't slow down when things start working. That's when you have to double down on those things. All right. Second point is God moves when you move. And I really believe this. He's equipped us, right? He's given us the tools, he's given us the resources, he's given us the opportunities. All right. If you're waking up this Monday morning, he's giving you breath in your lungs to go out and make something for yourself, to go out and impact the world and impact people. But I don't believe that he's just sitting down with people who aren't moving, right? He wants to guide you. He's our shepherd. So what does that mean if he's our shepherd? Think about a shepherd that's actually watching sheep. They're guiding the sheep. On my first deployment, we were in Jordan. And I remember being in Jordan, in the mountains of Jordan, and you would see like sheep. I don't really know what you call them, shepherds, right? Basically, herders. And they would be guiding their herd of sheep like 3/4 of the way up the mountains, right? So they could eat. And what was really interesting is they would always be behind the sheep, pushing them forward, right? But as the sheep would move, then they would move with it. It usually wasn't, they take off and start moving and then the sheep just follow them wherever they go. They had to constantly be guiding, right, their herd. I think God does the same thing with us. He needs us to move so he can guide us where he wants us to go. But first, we got to take the first steps, right? What if those sheep just stood there on the mountain? The shepherd be up there, trying to smack it, get it going, right? They're not going to do that. So you have to be energized, motivated, and ready to build the momentum for yourself. And he's going to move with you, right? He's going to take the reins and guide you, guide your business, guide your agency, guide you to the right opportunities. But you have to make the first step, right? The first leap of faith of choosing to go out there and create real momentum for yourself. I'm not talking about momentum like, let's go sell a policy and make enough money to pay our bills. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a life changing momentum shift for you, what you could do for your family. Okay. Have you guys ever listened to Ed Mylett? He talks about the one, right? The power of the one, about how in every single family, there's one person generally that changes the trajectory for that family. In his case, it was him, right? His dad was an alcoholic, I believe. He had, they didn't have money, different things, but he was the one person that decided to create the momentum shift for his family, change the lineage, the legacy, the financial picture for his family forever. He was the one to do it. You got to make the conscious decision of seeing, hey, are you going to be that one for your family? And if you're ready to do that, I believe God's ready to guide you in that. I think he wants to do that, right? He wants you to challenge yourself, to push yourself to a new limit. He doesn't want you to just be comfortable. How boring is comfort? If you guys really think about it, do you want to get to the end of your days looking back at it and think, yeah, I did, I was content? Or do you want to look back on your life and think, wow, I really pushed myself, right? What is the point of life if we're not pushing ourselves to a new height, to a new destination, a new challenge. If we're just being complacent, that's when depression kicks in. That's when stress kicks in. If you weren't born to be lazy, you weren't born to be complacent, right? So think about this, guys. He's going to move when you move, and you are equipped to start moving. So this is the week that you got to put your head down and to decide that you're going to actually create that momentum for yourself. All right. And then this next point here that I put in here is that the prepared get promoted. All right. Think about this. If you look at any successful story, there was a level of preparation that that person had to do in order to get promoted, in order to get the recognition. Think about the movie Rocky, right? Now we all know it's just a movie, right? But it's a great concept. Think about the work Sylvester Stallone put in that movie to get to the point of beating his opponents. Think about him climbing up those steps. Think about Kobe Bryant, how Kobe Bryant would be at practice before anybody else ever was, right? Everybody else was partying at 6 o'clock at night. He was there shooting free throws. Prepared people get promoted, especially going into today. How prepared are you to get that momentum, to start that momentum for yourself? What do you guys need, all right, to get that? Think about it. Schedule lockdown. You need leads loaded up. And you just have to have a willing heart to go out and hustle today. Those are the only 3 things that you need to win today, right? Leads, your schedule's mapped out, and a heart ready to go out and chase after it. If you have those 3 things, guys, this could be the best week of your career, right? My question for you, my challenge would be, why would this week not be a new record week for you? Team builders, coaches, everyone trying to build an agency, build a team up here. Why is this week not the week that you hire 4 brand new agents and you take your team from where you are to a totally new height? This could be your week. Stop waiting for next week. Stop waiting for tomorrow. Make it happen today. There's no reason that today cannot be your new record week, your record day out there in the field. You guys see it every day. I think about back when Jenny Ivy hit a house. I think she had like, Jenny, correct me on this. I can't remember the exact number. Wasn't it like $17,000 in one house, right? For 20, it might have been 20,000. I don't remember. I know so many of you guys have had a huge house that you just were following up with old leads, following up with people you couldn't get in front of, and boom, record day. Everybody listening to this call, there's no reason that today can't be that day for you. That sets the tone for your week. All right. So the prepared get promoted. And then lastly, we're just doing a quick call to kick off this week. Aim small, miss small. Guys, if you have a narrow focus, you're going to hit your destination that you're trying to get to. But if you have a big focus, all right, you're going to get lost. All right. I went on a hunting trip to Kentucky a few days ago. Shout out to Alicia for holding the fort down for me to just go run around the woods for a few days. But I was out there scouting, and we were in a section in Kentucky. It was right up against Indiana on the Ohio River. And there was a certain spot that I wanted to go to scout. And there was just one problem with this spot. You could not get to it on foot. You had to have a boat. You had to be willing to swim, or you had to find a way, right, to get across this river. And I say river, this section, it was probably like 50 foot wide and like 12 foot deep of water. There was just one problem. I knew I needed to get over that because I knew that that's where all the deer were going to be, because I had walked all the other property and saw absolutely nothing, except I didn't have a boat, right? This was the one challenge for me. I did not have a boat to get across this. So long story short, talking about aim small, miss small, I picked out certain spots on that map that I knew would be the shallowest section of that river to be able to cross it, to swim across it, walk across it, whatever. So I went to these little oxbows. and checked each one of them. And it was really funny. I walked like almost a mile and a half before I found one that I could actually get across. Okay. And if you were watching me on video, you would have had just an absolute heck of a time laughing at me, because there's this section of this river that had a tree that fell across it. The tree had cracked in half. So you had one section of the tree going down to the middle of the deep part of the water. Then you had the other section coming up, right? And that was the only spot that I could cross this thing at. And I was at this point probably 2.5 to 3 miles in the woods away from the nearest road. So that was the spot I had to get across. Just another problem. The tree was like this big. So I had to shimmy my way down this log and then climb up this log with my pack, my bow, you name it, right? I'm thinking there was a very high likelihood that I was going to fall off this tree into the water. But see, I took it one step at a time in order to not fall. If I looked down, keep in mind, this thing was like a 30-foot wide section. If I was looking at the across the river and I wasn't paying attention to each little step I took down this log, I definitely would have fell into that water, got soaked, never got to where I wanted to go, probably would have quit for the day. But I looked at the small things first, right? I literally would move 6 inches at a time down this log, and then I had to climb up it to get to the other section, just hoping the thing didn't fall. I ended up getting across it, but it was because I was aiming small. I was focused on what's my next step, not what am I going to do when I get to that section of it, right? Guys, if you aim small, you're going to miss small in your business. If you're looking at your day today and you're thinking, hey, I'm aiming for 7 presentations today, you might hit 5 or 6. Maybe you hit 7, but you're going to get very close to 7. Maybe you hit 8. You're going to be within 1 or 2 of your goal. If you don't even have that mapped out yet, you might hit 2. Okay. If you think about, I'm going to knock on 50 doors today, you're probably going to get close to that number. But if you don't think about that number, you might hit 5 and give up and go home. If you're trying to build and you're like, hey, I'm going to talk to 10 new potential agents today, you're probably going to get close to 10. But if you don't even have that number on your mind, you're not going to get anywhere near it. So you have to aim small in order to miss small if you want to build momentum for yourself in this business. If you're looking at your day and you're like, I want to hit $2,000 of production today, you're going to get close to that number. But if you don't even have that on the radar, who knows where you're going to end up. So guys, if you want to create momentum, you have to aim small in order to miss small. It's the same thing when we used to shoot in the Marines. That was like the slogan, all right, is aim small, miss small. If you have a huge target and you aim at just this little dot on that target, you're going to get close to it. But if you're just aiming at the whole thing, you might shoot here, you might shoot there, you might miss it altogether. So if you want to create momentum, list out those narrow goals that you want to hit this week, that you want to hit this month, the rest of this year, and that you want to line up for 2026. So I appreciate you guys for jumping on here. Quick call to jumpstart this week. I want you guys to go to WhatsApp. I want to see what's your goal for this day, right? What's your goal for today? AP goal, presentation goal. What's your team goal for the week, builders? Drop it in the chat and we will be back here on Wednesday.